Okay, I'm recording now. So, the world is going crazy, and we need to wake up on this planet. There's a lot of things happening, and we really need to make some quantum leaps in consciousness and awareness of what is going on. And so in that process, I have been out there looking all over the internet, and I already knew intuitively that there is a lot of very, very high evolved souls incarnating in on this planet already. And you're the one who is kind of like in the middle of this cooking pot, and you're just having your feelers out and you're listening. You're one of these that are just listening to hearing what these new incarnations, new children, what they're saying. And so I just had to get you on this show today because I'm feeling so much excitement and hope when I hear what these children have to say. I myself, I died 4 times. I went to the other side and came back 4 times. And I saw the ascension process and the whole thing, the shifting consciousness that the whole planet is going through right now. So I'm 49, and I saw this when I was 3 years old already the first time. So yeah, so I knew this is very special, what's going on the planet right now. There's a special incarnation, and we are all here to witness something grandiose happening. And so when I hear all these accounts that you're describing, I'm almost breaking into tears, like, because I'm just so excited that there's so many now who is catching on to this, who knows what's going on, and who come here to do the work. And so I'm excited about this interview today. I'm excited about meeting you and hearing the stories. And I want everybody to hear this. So so welcome, Mary. I have Mary Rodwell here. Welcome. And could you maybe tell the listeners a little bit about your background and how you ended up where you are right now?
In this weird and wonderful work that I do. I started out in a very traditional nurse midwife when I first started my professional life. That led me into learning about counseling, and I worked in a medical practice for about 5 years when I realized that prevention is better than cure, and prevention means people dealing with their emotional, psychological issues. So that was profound, because with a lot of allopathic medicine, it's more about suppressing symptoms than it is about curing illness. And that was very clear to me, and very clear now, given what's going on the planet right now. That took me to looking at the spiritual perspective, because I was brought up in a Catholic family. I believed in the spirits, but there was a very contained belief system, as anyone who is a Catholic will know. You believe in the dogma or you're not a Catholic. Mm-hmm. And they dismissed things like reincarnation. And I was seeing evidence through my research that reincarnation was in fact a very real concept. And that drew me into looking into this and also learning hypnosis. And with hypnosis, I realized that some illnesses or phobias, for example, were related to not this life, but another life. And so I would take people into that experience in another life, and we would clear the imprint, and they would lose the phobia. So it was, very much very real. From this, of course, I realized that some people were having incarnations that were not on this planet, that they had incarnations on other planets, other star systems, other galaxies, other dimensions. But it was something that made it very physical was when a gentleman came to see me. He said, "Mary, I've heard you're open-minded. There is no support groups for this. People just think you're a crazy loony. My family's having experiences. I'm having experiences, shaved areas on my body, marks on my body. He said, you know, I need, my family and I need help because the relatives won't come to the house because they think it's demons. And we need help. You know, can you help? And as we all know, I think the universe sets us up. And I'd read very soon before he came to me, I read 2 books that I happened coincidentally to pick up. And one of them was Abduction by Dr. John Mack, the professor of psychiatry at Harvard University, Abduction, Human Encounters with Aliens, and also Whitley Strieber's book, Communion, those, you know, the classic story of experiences. So I read these books just prior to this gentleman coming to see me. And so I realized that this was a tangible, real thing, because this gentleman, it wasn't just him, it was his whole family were having these experiences. So it wasn't fantasy, it wasn't hallucination, because they were all experiencing it with real tangible marks and what have you. And that really was the beginning of the rabbit hole for me, because once I, you know, realized this was real, it was, I didn't know how rare it was. For me, I wanted to know what was going on.
How long time ago was this?
25 years ago.
Okay.
So 3,500 clients later, families and children, ended up me writing 2 books. One was Awakening and the second one, The New Human, because the thing, Josh, that is so vital here is it's not rare. This is not just one person in 10,000 or whatever. This is everywhere.
Yeah.
Only people don't always know what it is they're experiencing. Yeah. They think, oh, maybe I'm a bit crazy. You know, maybe there's something wrong with me in some way. And many of them will never even talk about it because they don't want their family or their friends to think there's something wrong with them. So they keep quiet. I've spoken to 70, 80, 90-year-olds that have had experiences all their lives and never spoken about it. And the ones that have ended up medicated or in hospital.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, that is exactly. So I myself had a lot of experiences, and I've been attracting lots of people who had experiences. So for me, I feel it's a very common thing. I mean, at least a lot of people around my circle of people, there's a lot of them having mystical experiences, weird, unexplainable experiences. And very often when I sit and talk with them, because of my background, I'm like, well, maybe. And then I'm just giving a little, you know, another way of trying to look at this. And the light bulbs go on, and they're like, oh my God, of course. And then suddenly the whole thing falls into place. So, but I'm living in Vilcabamba in Ecuador, right outside a big sacred mountain called Mandango. There is lots of UFO activity there. Every week something's going on. And so everybody who lives here, it's just, they're there, and it's kind of like common knowledge and all the stuff. So, and even visitations, there's people who are communicating, and they're coming down, they're landing. Then, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. So I've been around all this my whole life. For me, it's normal, but I know people who are extremely scared of mentioning anything because they will be thrown out of the family or looked upon like they're crazy. And but luckily the world is changing now, and it's getting more okay to open up.
Well, the rather pathetic disclosure from the Pentagon that was recent, basically saying, yes, these are these strange lights in the sky, but we don't know what they are, when plainly they are lying through their teeth, because they know exactly what they are and have known for 100 years or more. But the bottom line is, at least there's an acknowledgement now that there are anomalous lights in the sky. What is hard for those like yourself and so many millions of others is their experiences are still being dismissed as fantasy or whatever. And that's where I get, you know, for me as a therapist and counselor, is seeing the damage that denial causes to those that are having experiences, because they're scared. They're scared. Am I going crazy? What's wrong with me? Why is it happening to me? You know, if I talk about it, people are going to laugh at me and whatever. Or I could lose my livelihood, because some of these people are highly credentialed. Some of them, you know, have PhDs in various disciplines. I've got doctors, nurses, social workers, you know, psychologists, psychiatrists having experiences that they can't acknowledge in their professions because they would lose their livelihood.
Yeah, yeah. So what I would like to tune into today is the fact that there's a lot of things happening now on the planet. There's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of evil merging, and it's becoming more and more visible. And a lot of people are losing hope, and they are losing, they don't see a future anymore, and they are scared, and they are manipulated and brainwashed in so many ways, right? And so when I'm so there's two sides of this. I just want to quickly mention, in my near-death experiences, every single time I died, I was shown the whole ascension process, what's about to happen on this planet and how it's going to happen. And this has to do with the sun giving this big flash, and it's going to alter the DNA on planet Earth as we know it. All life will be changed. And so that's the story that I came back with, that I know that this big shift is about to happen, and we better prepare for it, because our nervous system is going to get a big jolt up, and it's either going to be the best day of your life or the worst day of your life, depending if you're ready or not. And so it's basically a lot of love, and love can be very too much if it comes too fast and too strong. But for those who are ready, this is going to be an amazing day. And so this is basically the download I got. I don't want to talk too much about it, because I'm talking about that in other videos, if people are interested. But what I also want, what I really would like to point towards is what they didn't take into account, what they didn't plan, was that all these human bodies are now being occupied by extremely advanced souls that have not forgotten who they are. And they have special abilities, and they are coming in with a whole new big deck of cards that they can play with, that we haven't seen before at this, that huge amount of souls coming in right now. And this is where I'm feeling so excited when I'm hearing your presentations and you're sharing the stories that you hear. So could you maybe give listeners an overview of what kind of souls are incarnating in on the planet right now, and what are they saying? What is going on here?
Yeah. Well, I'd like to start, and I will mention others, but I talked to a 12-year-old only recently. And I wanted to, because her mother said that she talks to her angels and her source all the time. And so I asked the mother to ask her what she was getting told about right now, what's actually happening right now.
Yeah.
And I'll read it to you, because I think it's absolutely important people realize this.
Okay.
So she said this. So what's happening on the earth at the moment, her guide, her angelic guide, told her this: everyone is moving dimensions. The higher self of each person individually is working hard to bring into alignment the new dimensions upon Earth. Every higher self on the planet is trying to do this, even if the person is totally unaware. There are beings of a lower vibration on the planet, not necessarily from Earth. They feed on low negative vibrational energy. As the higher self of each person is moving or trying to move their energy higher, this will mean there's less to feed off. Therefore, certain beings are creating many negative emotional situations on Earth to keep humans from changing dimensions. The higher energy vibration, the less emotional we become. We will be more neutral in happiness and harmony with the planet and each other and our lives. So there's a kind of energy battle going on with each person's higher self and the darker energy beings. She was saying there's no judgment in or hierarchy. We're all equal, even the darker energies. We're just experiencing different lives. Everyone will evolve into the higher dimensions eventually. Nobody will be left behind. It's just timings. These moving dimensions is happening throughout the galaxy, on many other planets too. However, some planets are already higher vibrational, so the lower energy beings are not there as there's nothing to feed off. She says more. She says the shift will happen to all and lift us to a new, kinder, caring, less emotional reality. The timings will vary. She said her purpose is to help people connect with the earth, to ground people, help them connect to their higher selves. She's been told she has many powers she will gain over time. She will use channeling, magic, and alchemy. She said she comes from a different galaxy, many galaxies away. She also warned there are famous and popular people leading the spiritual world with many, many followers who are loving the attention and not working for our best interests anymore. They are lowering our vibrations with their rhetoric and negative tales. And this is the last bit that you will appreciate, I think, Josh. She said the vaccines are not good, but not everyone who has one will be affected, although many will.
Okay. Wow. Well, it's so interesting. So this is a 12-year-old saying all these things. And I spent my entire life in reading books and researching and kind of getting, kind of like the download that I got when I died. I kind of tried to figure out what all that means throughout my life. And
Yeah.
I'm teaching these things that she's saying. So she's 12 years old saying all these things that I'm now at age 49 are sitting teaching, you know? So it's just, this is what makes me excited because, you know, I had to do my homework. I had to actually, you know, put some sweat into this, where they just come in and it's there. It's just there. That's what I love about it. So, you know, when these children are growing up, good luck trying to control them. Good luck trying to, you know, politicians telling them stories or whoever it is trying to make some social mind control programming, mass control, something that they will be completely immune to all this stuff.
Well, the bottom line is they can read you because many of them are telepathic. So whatever you're saying, they'll know what you're really saying from what that you're thinking. I remember a 13-year-old telling me that she sometimes struggles at school because she said her teacher is saying one thing, but she's thinking something else. And what she's thinking often isn't very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I met children like that. They look at me like, you can see that they're just checking out your aura. So they look with the third eye and they're like gazing at you. And I'm just like, okay, I'm just standing still, letting them, you know, get the download because I can see what they're doing. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then like, I remember one girl, she was just smiling at me and then she was just nodding. Like she was just getting the whole download. There was no, we didn't say anything. And I could feel it was happening. But for her, it was just like natural, very quick.
Yeah. They read your frequency, Josh. I always remember talking to a 9-year-old and he told me he was from Orion. He was a light physicist working on time travel. He said that the scientists here were pretty dumb and the only one that had made any sense was Nikola Tesla. And the reason he wanted to talk with me, he said, was because of my frequency. So that sort of says it all, really, doesn't it? They're not looking at what form you are, they are reading you.
Yeah.
And I always remember talking to a 7-year-old when I was in the US, and this little boy started to tell me that he could speak dolphin, which he did for me. He said, "Would you like to hear me speak dolphin?" After he did that, he said, "I can tell when someone's not telling the truth and when they're telling the truth." And I said to him, "So how does that feel to you?" He says, "When they're not telling the truth, I go all cold." He said, "And when they're telling the truth, I feel all warm." To him, it was a feeling, and he sensed when, so it's fascinating to find out from these children how they experience this reality, and describing how they interpret it.
And I think even us grown-ups who lost all that in the process, but when we hear this, we are like, yeah, because there is a part of us that also have that experience of the like when somebody's lying to me, I usually call it that I feel more contraction, like a contraction of the energy field. I didn't feel like temperature, hot and cold, but just like contraction and just feeling a slightly uncomfortable, like something is not right. And then when I meet somebody who is completely honest, genuine, and just completely like real, being themselves, instantly I start to expand and relax. Yeah. And so I think even adults like us who have, fallen gradually asleep, I think we can relate to what we're hearing these children are saying, because once upon a time, this was completely natural for us too. I think it's just being worked out of us in education systems, etc., and the society.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I remember a 9-year-old from Sweden explaining to me, she said that when you go to school, they program you out of your light, she said, and then they just press the keys. And this is exactly what so-called education is. It's a programming, and it's a programming you out of your awareness, your higher awareness, your multidimensional self. And many of those that come to me, that's been awakened again. And it may be because they've had a near-death experience, an out-of-body experience, or shamanic experience, or a healing experience. Something is triggered, and it acts like a catalyst to wake them up again into understanding the greater reality, and they start to see and experience again from that level, whether it's orbs of light, spirit beings, energy fields, the whole, and being, and ETs, and interdimensional light beings, etc., etc. And so it's not always through a UFO that this may happen. It may come because they've had, like you did, this profound awakening and activation through an experience. And that is what is happening now right across the globe in different ways. This is occurring.
Yeah, I remember there's a story with I had this shamanic experience with a man. His wife actually brought him and said, "This, my husband needs to we're either gonna divorce or he's gonna have to do this, and we hope for the best," because he was this international banker moving billions of dollars, like very high level stuff in Hong Kong or something, and he, when I looked in his eyes, they were dead. Like I just saw numbers and calculations, and I was just like, okay, I would hope this is gonna do something. So we did what is called breaking open the head journey, and he came out of it completely different. And his wife came back 2 weeks later in tears and saying their marriage was saved. And the only thing he wanted was to plant trees. And so he had so much money, he started buying acres and acres and acres of land in different places and just cover it with trees. And he quit his job, moved to a different country with his wife, who is super happy now. And the
Yeah.
only thing he's doing is farming and planting trees, taking care of nature and all that stuff. And so that guy was completely transformed. And so, yeah, and he was like my age. So, you know, certain experiences can definitely shift it. And suddenly you just remember why you're here and what you need to do and what's the right thing to do. And you shake all that stuff off. So, you know, it's there for all of us to grab and to invite into our lives.
I think what people also need, because what we don't realize is we're being assisted by these non-human intelligences, the ancestors, as I call them, because they are, many of them have been part of our creation in the first place. So, you know, our ancestors are bringing in the frequencies to do this activation of this dormant DNA that they used to call junk DNA. And the whole idea is to get us to wake up and realize who we are, what we are, our potential, so that we can join them in the galactic community. So this is coming through with the new beings, the children are coming in fully activated. All of us at different points in our life are having that experience where we seem to wake up from a deep sleep and suddenly realize just who we are and what we are and why we're here, our mission. And it's coming through frequencies hitting the planet. It's coming through all these different experiences that people are drawn to. They're drawn to something they don't realize maybe consciously is going to be part of that catalyst of waking them up. And being amongst others that are awake also will trigger us. Sacred sites will trigger us. Crop circles will trigger us. There are, you know, there's a whole range of ways the soul chooses to be activated. And that is what's giving me hope. But most particularly because of these children coming in, fully aware of why they've come to this planet and what their job is. When you hear a 10-year-old explain to you that they come from a planet where they were a blue being, this is their first incarnation. And this young man said to his mum, I'm a center seed and I'm going to connect to the center of this planet. And I'm going to help with the pollution on this planet. That's my job. That's my mission, for example. So they're coming in fully aware that they've got work to do and they've got the abilities to do it. And this is why we have to be aware that a lot of the agendas on this planet is about shutting that down, not only in us, but in the children as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with Rudolf Steiner. He in 1920s, he spoke about the vaccine is there to actually shut down any spiritual notions, like anything that makes you seek towards the divine. That's what the vaccine, and he predicted that vaccine will come, and it's right here, right now. And so just like that 12-year-old who's coming in with that knowledge, and she's just saying what it is.
Yeah.
So what have you heard these children coming in talking about in regards to ascension process? What is it and what's going on?
Many of them have talked about, one of them, a particular 12-year-old, explained that we'd been to this point several times before and we didn't quite make it. But he said when he was in another incarnation, they left something on the moon, which was to do with consciousness. And he was part of that. And he said, this time he really believes we will make it, that we've got to the point now where we will actually make it to this new high frequency, that it's on the cards. And, you know, one of the things I've always said, and I feel it absolutely, is that they've come in knowing they're going to be able to do it. It's like, why would you bother to incarnate with all those gifts if you know that in the end it's not going to work? So the sense that they're coming in because they know it is going to work. And I've always mentioned a lovely gentleman that I got to meet a few times in the area of ufology, and he was Command Sergeant Robert Dean. And he was always in for disclosure, always wanting his government to share the truth of the reality of all of this. And just before he died, a few years before he died, he actually admitted that he'd had experiences and had been on the spacecraft. And he said two things that were, I think, very relevant to now. He said we have at least 12 different genetic additions to Homo sapiens sapiens from these species. And secondly, he said, they have shown me our future. And he said, and it is glorious.
Wow.
And that was what he said. And he's one of those that you just know spoke truth. It radiated from him. And that's the other thing, Josh, that I think is so important. What we're being charged to do now is to listen to that resonance, our own personal resonance to truth, because there is so much out there now, so many different perspectives, so many different packages of information. And we know that some of it is not accurate. We know that we're being misled. The only thing we've got is our own resonance to truth. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, that is now what we're being tasked to listen to, rather than be judged or allow judgments or other people's thoughts or opinions or other people's ideas to conflict with what we know in our heart, what we feel in our heart. This is a time to stand up for your truth, even if you're going to get a hard time by some that don't understand or don't want to understand. Yeah. Or prefer not to because it's scary or whatever. It's about, the only way we're going to transcend this is to face our fears if we are to be fully operational as a multidimensional being.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And as a teacher, I get contacted by a lot of people who basically don't trust their own intuition. They don't trust their own inner voice, or they can't even hear it. And so they come with all this noise from the internet, all this information, and what most people don't realize is even the New Age spiritual movement is highly hijacked. There is a lot of misinformation there, because those in power, they know that that's where the problems are going to come from. If people wake too much up. And so they have infused this for many decades. They've been infusing this with spiritual dogmatic teachings to lead you away from actual watching and experiencing reality as it is. And that includes the dark stuff, like facing your fears, shadow work, and understanding what is evil, stuff like that. And then also, how do you respond to that? Do you respond to it in this dogmatic spiritual person reality, or do you respond to it as a natural human being coming from the heart, but with the ability to act? So again, Rudolf Steiner, he said, in those days now that we're in now, it's time for the yoga of action, not sitting still, meditating and prayers and sing by the fire and holding hands. That's for peacetime. But right now, this is not peacetime. So it's time for yoga of action, meaning action, but with the love behind it. But people don't trust their own inner voice because they've been confused for so long. And so I want people to look at these children and say to themselves, well, if they are so clear and they know the truth, they know what's real, what's not, they can't be taken for a ride, then something in you has that capacity as well. All you need to do is wake this up and trust it and listen to your heart, because we all need to do this. We can't just sit and wait for some 12-year-old to come and save the planet. We all have to get into this. And so you've been doing this for at least 25 years now, and some of these children must have been growing up. And do you have any feedback stories of what they're doing with their lives now? Are they doing something some interesting, or are they just sitting in a boring office job and doing nothing?
Well, I think there's always some that get hijacked because of certain things that happen to them in their lives. There are others that find it so hard being on this planet, so isolating, they don't want to be here. And I suspect that some of them have either suicided or gone on to drugs or alcohol because they can't face what they're dealing with here. I remember a young 16-year-old who was told when he was about 10 or 11, stop imagining all this fantasy stuff about what you're saying and all your realities and start being normal like the rest of us. And he said to me, Mary, I tried to just be in their 3D reality. I got so depressed, I wanted to take my life. He said, and I thought to myself, well, the only way I'm going to survive is to go back to what nurtures me. And so he went back to owning his multidimensional awareness to survive being here, because it was the only way he could do. Otherwise, he said, I would have probably taken my life. But there are those that then, if they get past that, where they get past some of the judgment that, you know, schools can be pretty tough. If they get past that, some of them have gone into ecology, saving the planet in different ways, into healing. And you've got some amazing souls that have developed themselves to a point where they don't care about judgment anymore. They're doing what they've come here to do. And this is why I've always said that ultimately some centers, you know, I call them awakening centers, would be good, because what we could do is provide the environment for these children to teach us what we need to do to provide for them what they need, so they can do what they've come here to do. And I think that will evolve into something like that at some point, but also those in the process of waking up as well need support. I meet so many that feel lonely and isolated. They feel like they don't belong on this planet. Some of them say, you know, I want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. And they may say even they feel like they've been adopted because they don't connect to their siblings or their parents or whatever as well. So there's, you know, so many that are struggling to just be human. And a lot of the work is about helping them to ground themselves into the 3D reality. And I'm saying, because you've come here to learn to be human too. You know, it's important that you realize you've got a job down here. I make a joke about this being like a boarding school, an earth boarding school, and they've come here to learn things and they'll go home for a holiday when it's time, you know, so get on with the job in the meantime, because none of us like boarding school, but you know, it's what we've chosen to learn from. So it's about get over that and realize you're here because you've got something to contribute. You've got something to help make a difference down here. And we've all come with that mandate to come and help this planet in its transition. And we all have everything we need to do that. You know, we've come in with the tools. You know, the soul hasn't let you come in without the tools you need, because that would be illogical. So you've got them. You've just got to start rediscovering yourself and what you can do.
Absolutely. And I can speak for myself and say, you know, the 4 near-death experiences, they came each time I died and I went to the other side. It came at a time where I was falling asleep again. And then I died and I was reminded, and I came back like, boom, okay. And then slowly as the years went by, I started forgetting again, and then one more. And then, so I just got slapped by the universe, like, come on, wake up every time. And so because of that, I just never really was acting like a normal human, so-called normal human being. And so my whole life I've been outside the box. I've been one of the weirdos, you know, the guy you just go and talk to, and then he's totally different, and then you just have to walk away and get a holiday from that. So I've done this my whole life, but I met so many people who have similar stories like me, but who got you know, bogged down by the system in one way or the other. I was lucky to I've been, and now also, for example, I live here in Vilcabamba in Andes Mountains because there's a ton of people like me in this town, a lot of them. And also these people who don't want to be around people. So they're living in the middle of nowhere, like 10, 15 kilometers from here. They come to town once a week just to be doing the human thing. And then they're out again in nature. And so there's a lot of hermits here. And so I'm feeling very comfortable in this place. And what I want to say to the listeners who can resonate with this, you got to find your tribe. You got to find your tribe. You got to find a group of people that are on the same page, because trust me, they're out there. There's thousands, millions of them.
Yeah.
And so they're out there. You just need to find this tribe. And that's what I'm doing every Sunday now. I'm doing live events where everybody who feels like this, they're actually coming, and we're just sitting there, and I'm doing a presentation on some topic, and we're just connecting, and there's live chats and communication. And I also bring guests in and do interviews with, like last week I did an interview with a tantra yoga goddess who talks about how consciousness works in the male and the feminine and all these things. And so I'm trying to gather the tribe. I'm trying to create, hey, in here, it's okay. You know, you can say all these things, you can be all these things, and know you're not going crazy, and it's totally all right. And this is the future. This is where we're going. Like all that stuff you see in TV, that's the dinosaur stuff. And you're being told that's normal. It's not. This is the they are already extinct, and they don't even know it. Yeah. This is the future, and that's where we're going. So we just need to gather in groups and bring this energy with us, and lift each other up. Like when we have the days where things go south, then we just lift each other up and give a little injection of light, a little boost of the real stuff, instead of all that fear-based, fear-mongering stuff. So also what you said with these entities, this 12-year-olds talked about these entities that are living off negativity. It is such a big deal right now. Like with all this fear going out on the planet right now, the whole planet is like trapped in this field of negativity and fear and anxiety and worry. And we're all like more or less buying into it and feeding this beast. And it's really amazing to watch. I mean, the occult magic priesthood that is doing all this stuff. I mean, they are really good at they know how the human psyche is working. And that's why we need to be together. We need to be strong together, because you can't do this standing alone. It's so important. So yeah, the time of the lone wolf is over. Now it's time for the group consciousness.
I think what you were saying, Josh, is really important, that it's not just about saying, you know, keeping in the spiritual realm and saying meditation is enough. I think we do have to be proactive here, because we are also in a 3D world. And, you know, you can't stop mowing the lawn and feeding the kids and saying, I'm just going to sit in meditation and hope that's going to be enough. You know, we've got to do our part in whatever way we can to activate and awaken those around us, even if it means we get a hard time over it, because you've got to face judgment. You've got to face the fear of judgment and realize that you're only getting that because others are uninformed a lot of the time, and they're scared or whatever. But you can't just say, well, that's not anything to do with me. I'll just sit here and meditate or whatever. We've really got to realize that's not how that works in 3D. We have to make some kind of sense of, look, this is how I feel. If you're speaking your truth, then you are creating a frequency that will make a difference ultimately to those around you. So it's not just meditating, it's saying, this is my truth. You know, and you're going to get things thrown at you, you know, and what have you. I've got a Facebook where I get one particular troll that wants to dismiss everything that I put out when it comes to these medical procedures, because I was a nurse and a midwife. I can see when things aren't right. Mm-hmm. I've done my research. I've looked at it, all of this, every single thing, and I can qualify it all. And he'll put something up, and I immediately post something that's the opposite. He'll put something else up and I'll immediately, so I'm saying there's two sides to this.
Yeah.
There's this one or this one. Which one are you going to resonate with? Which one is your truth? Yeah. Because a lot of the time it's not their truth. It's their, you know, it's just theater. They're wanting to look like they're normal, or that they don't want to be judged. And it's about, if we are afraid of being judged, well, don't come to 3D, because it's everywhere.
Yeah, I'm way past judgment stuff like that. I got over that in my 20s because I was just like, I mean, I was too weird. I was too different. And so, you know, I had to either kill myself or drop the idea of trying to please anybody, because you know, I had a deep realization. I was looking in the mirror one day and I was like, well, God is perfect, right? Like God doesn't run around making mistakes, meaning I'm created this way. So the world just needs to deal with it. All I need to do is just to be myself. I just need to be me 100%. Just like a cat is going to be a cat 100%. It's not going to try to be a parrot. It's not going to try to be a dog. It's going to be a cat. And I'm like, go into your 100% catness and just meow and purr and eat a mouse and climb the tree, and whatever it is that cats like to do, just do 100% catness. And I'm just like 100% Joshua, and you're going to be 100% Mary. And these children are going to be 100% whatever they are. And it can be overwhelming for us who fell asleep to see a child just totally in tune on that level. But we got to have to just go on with the program. We can't be intimidated by it. We can't be scared. We're just going to have to embrace it. Okay, these are the warriors coming in right now. Well, this is good news. It's time to celebrate. I think it's great. Like, if there's anything giving me hope and positivity, is the notion that these souls are incarnating in that are they got the whole package. They are just there. They are 100% awake and aware. And I think it's precious, and we should just leave them to their own ways of doing things. We should try to interfere as little as possible, because we don't even understand what we're dealing with.
Well, that's what, when people ask me, and I have educators contact me, I have clinical psychologists that are seeing these kids and saying often the parents are not always awake. And they'll say, I'm seeing these new kids and recognizing them. And, you know, what can you do? And I said, well, ultimately, what we need is an environment where they tell us what they need to be all they can be. And all we do is make sure they eat properly and they sleep properly and they have the right nurturing environment, because they're the teachers. They're the ones that are going to teach us what needs to happen. And that's what they've come in with. So it's going to be a complete reversal of the roles that we play. I remember doing a lady doing her PhD in Dublin about spiritual children, and contacted me and wanted to know my thoughts on all of this, because she would be talking to educators at the university about different ways of being with these children and what have you. And she said, so what do you want me to tell them, Mary? And I said, well, they're not going to like what I say. And she said, so what is it? I said, forget everything you've ever done or learned about children and start again, because this is a whole new ball game in terms of children. And it isn't about programming. It's about giving them the opportunity to teach us why they've come.
They don't need the programming. They are the channels. They're bringing it in. They're bringing it in. And so it's not a programming. It's a process of flow of materialize the spiritual, bringing the spirit into the 3D, and try to express that and deliver it in as pure form as possible. Whatever programming we do is only going to make it worse. It's only going to pollute because then the prism gets polluted and the light will become distorted. And so a lot of these children needs to stay in their innocence. And I think also innocence is the key word, innocence and surrender. But especially like when you meet a PhD, some professor in some university, he's not innocent anymore. Why? Because he's so mental. He thinks he knows things. And when you think you know things, you lose your innocence, because there's not spontaneous flow in what is in the moment anymore. And only innocence can bring you back to that. And so you have to forget everything you think you know, everything, and total reset the button and just stay in the present moment and see what comes. And that's how you actually channel that information. And this is, the children are just perfect for that.
Well, the reason, Josh, I wrote so many accounts from the children is purely because of that innocence, and they're coming in with clarity that isn't colored by logic or analysis or what they've learned on this planet. And of course, you know, and I know that many of them go up on spacecraft and are being taught by the beings themselves. And I recall this 8-year-old explaining to me about being in the classroom on board craft with a couple of his school friends, saying they were using their mental capacity to move things, change things, etc. And they were learning very complex things. And I said to him, so when you say complex, can you tell me what those complex things are? And he said, no, because they're too complex for you.
To have that for breakfast.
I was well and truly put in my place, wasn't I?
Yeah.
You know, because that was it. This is an 8-year-old telling me this. And of course, some of the subjects that they're learning is everything from quantum physics right through to the origin of the species, to everything to do with time and space, total cosmology. These are deep subjects. And when I spoke to an 8-year-old girl who wanted to tell me about her experiences about a few nights before, she said she'd gone on a spacecraft and they'd taken her to another planet where she was learning how to levitate and use her third eye. And then she said they were showing me genetic engineering, moving different, adjusting different genes in different species to seed other planets. So it was all about genetic engineering and how different indigenous life forms will be created in different planets and what have you. Just really dead excited about what she'd been learning and couldn't wait to tell me what it was she's learning. And we think that we need to tell them how things are. You know, I mean, the arrogance of it is hilarious.
Yeah, it is. It's hilarious. I've had many nights or mornings where I wake up in the morning and I start telling my partner, oh, I was on a spaceship last night, and there was a bunch of what I will call extraterrestrials that are about to incarnate down on Earth, and I needed to come up and teach them about life on Earth, like how crazy it is. And so the whole night I've been standing, I was standing in front of this big projector or something, and they ask questions and I start explaining and create these images on screens, and they look at it. And the whole thing was all about, they wanted to know why we're doing what we're doing, because they don't understand it. Like, because we are literally insane for those beings that they're coming down. They're like, why are you guys doing like this? Oh, okay, money, okay, and okay, like stuff like that. So so I've been having the pleasure of teaching throughout the night several times, and those are the times I remember. I have a feeling there's been a lot more going on, but I don't remember. And I also remember being in another spaceship where there was many different species, and we had to do some telepathic connection and download that had to do with the situation in the local star cluster, because there's some the ascension energies are going through different star systems, and it's like popping like popcorn, and it's getting closer and closer to Earth, and we're actually just on we're just about to make the big pop. And so so there was a lot of comparison on that process from other star systems, and so we were kind of comparing notes.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's all these. I could talk for hours about all these things, but it's what I'm just so excited about these souls coming in with this intact knowledge and memory, and I really hope and pray that those children out there are listening to interviews like this and start finding the communities, the tribes, and gather. So do you know of any organizations or schools or online forums or anything where people can meet like this?
I have some contacts where there are certain places where they can meet up with others like themselves, and I can always, anyone who wants to know, I can email the information where they can talk openly about their experiences and what have you. And also some of them, I've got a group not too far from where I live, where a lady there is helping the children to see without physical sight. Mm-hmm. She's actually teaching them how to do that. So it's encouraging them to understand and work with their consciousness with support on this plan. And we know there are certain governments that are also providing that. With China's doing it, Russia's doing it, Mexico is doing it as well. But unfortunately, when it's tied into governments, I've already got the less than what's the word, confidence that that's done for altruistic means. And this is what people need to realize, is governments are seeking these children. They are seeking to find out where they are for their own purposes, because they know of their abilities and what they can do. So you've got this other, again, parents need to be aware that you know that this is part of the big program, and it's no good pretending, you know, putting your hands over your ears and saying don't want to know, don't want to know, don't want to know. We've got to be informed, and we've got to know how best. By being informed, then you can at least take protocols to protect them until they're able to deal with it themselves. Mind you, some of them are already able to do that. I remember, and I wrote about it in The New Human, as a 9-year-old explaining he'd been taken to an underground base, and he explained he was in a chair and there was a woman in a black uniform opposite him with some technology, and he said she was trying to lower my frequency so she could put things into my head. I knew what she was doing, so I kept my frequency too high for her to be able to do it.
Wow.
So what we do know is that these children are already being prepared to deal with some of the problems on this planet. They are not, just because they only look 6 or 7 or 8 years old, just know that many of them have come with, you know, awareness that is way beyond most of us.
Yeah.
And they can read it, they can see it. They've one lady that who calls herself a hybrid explained to me she's from the future, and she said that in the future she had a very high position in the future where, you know, on the planet that she was on. Her biggest problem is now coming back to this primitive planet where she's just an average, you know, 20-year-old, and saying it's really hard, Mary, to deal with it when I know that that's me that's on this other planet in the future. You know, having respect and having all those things. And so this is another side of this, is some of them that are aware that they're from the future. And one 9-year-old, I think he's 9. I'll have to tell you this 9-year-old that I came across. One of the things he said about coming from the future was he's a time traveler. His real form is not the body he inhabits now. He is genderless in that form. His alien form is really us from the future. They are us, we are them. And he went on to describe he had no nails and 4 fingers. So this is a 9-year-old explaining this, and also saying that, and he mentioned the concept of God, and I'm not trying to upset anyone. I'm just saying what he was told before, you know, so people hopefully don't get upset. They'd shown him on a screen dinosaur times and future times. He spoke in depth about God. And the mother said, I've never mentioned God to him ever. And he said that the older, bigger aliens told him God is not what most people think. They showed him this vortex-type black hole that isn't a black hole, but it's a violet light that creates. The aliens don't even know who created it or when, but that's what they demonstrated to him. He also said that many of the ETs were scientists with an IQ of over 400, was his understanding of their awareness. I mean, one of the other things he talked about was his education. He said he doesn't always want to talk about it because they make him forget, but he's visited once a week and other children like him are taken on board craft. And he said he gets a very in-depth education from them. He calls the aliens the taller beings. He also talked about going out of his body through his head and going anywhere in the universe. Now, remember, this is a 9-year-old explaining these concepts.
Crazy. Like, I mean, hearing this story is wild enough, even if it came from an adult. But when you hear this from a 9-year-old, you're like, because you know they can't make this up, because they where would they hear all these details? Like, it's just mind-boggling. It's well, in a way it's not actually. I mean, it's so, I mean, in a way it's not, because knowledge, so when knowledge is embodied, it's a different story. You don't need to have an adult brain. You don't need to spend many years learning something from a book or something. It's just there, available. So, but still, I'm loving it. I think it's so crazy that so young children are speaking such wise words and just bringing it in. So with all these children you're talking to, what are they saying about the future? What do they say is about to happen and how it'll be after?
Many are talking about the new Earth, that this is, and one, I mentioned it in the New Human as well, is that we talk about us going to it, but it's already there waiting for us, is the way that he described it. That it's like, it's when we get to that frequency, then that will be there. It's because we know everything's frequency anyway. The only reason you can't see spirits is because they're a different frequency. And, you know, we're all, the only reason we can see each other is because we're all resonating at the same frequency at the moment. We're all vibrating at the same frequency. So that's the only reason it looks solid or whatever. And so what this seems to be is that we're going to create a new home for our souls and our avatars to inhabit. And that's what I'm getting more than more, is this new Earth is waiting there for us to become one with it. Seems to be the kind of consensus. And also some seem to feel, and Dr. Olson, who's an experiencer, told me that she was shown by her beings that we were separating out into two frequencies, low frequency people and high frequency people. And the low frequency will stay in 3D, that they will, because that's their sole choice this time, that they've chosen still to experience the material reality. And the rest that have said, right, I've done learning on that level now, I'm ready to go to the next level. And so there's going to be, and in a way we're seeing that polarity right now in those that want to hear and those that don't want to hear, that are saying, no, don't want to hear all the nasty, no. And the ones that are saying, listen, can't you see what's happening here? And so I feel that there's some, and it's all about the soul journey, isn't it? You know, some of us, we've all chosen a certain experience, I believe. And the reason I say that is I've done hundreds of regressions to people where they've experienced another life and they've left that life and become spirit again, and then talked about choosing the next incarnation, choosing their parents, choosing their experience. And it was interesting that a little boy recently explained to his mum that before he came here, he was a will-o'-the-wisp spirit, and he had 3 lifetimes offered him, and he chose this one where he found himself in mummy's tummy. So he'd made the choice. This was like, this program will do me, right. And then he's in mum's tum. This is how they often explain it. And this is what I find fascinating, is their wording and the way they'll articulate their awareness. For example, a 7-year-old explained how he goes to other planets. He says, I just need to know their mathematical number, their frequency. And he said that he uses the runes as a portal to go to the planet with the mathematical number he knows. So he literally goes.
The
runes, the runes, yes.
The Viking rune?
He uses, the Viking runes as a portal.
Wow.
That's how he explained it, is use them as a portal to going to the planet. So he could then fixate on the planet. And of course, the mathematical number is just a frequency, isn't it? Yeah. So he has to know the frequency. Yeah. That's how he travels.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That is so awesome. And I remember when I was beginning to talk, when I started talking to my parents, I actually told them, hey, you're not really my parents, just so you know. and then I said, and that's not really my name. I have a different name. Yeah. And they looked at me like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And so, all that was intact in me back then. And so, everything you're saying, like this thing also with the higher vibration, and then those who stay in 3D, that's exactly what I saw on the other side when I died. I was shown all this. Like I was shown the vibration will increase, and there's people who cannot stay in, they cannot follow it, and they're gonna stay behind. Yeah. They're gonna continue 3D incarnations to continue learning, because there's still more stuff they need to learn. And then the rest of us, we are moving into the 4th and 5th dimensional reality. And actually, I have been there. So I have done some powerful meditations where I actually can raise the vibration high enough to actually go into the place where we all are going. And I can stay there for I think the longest I've ever been is 10 minutes. And usually it's like 1, 2, maybe 3 minutes. And then it's just like, it's too much. And I'm going down back. But we have parents waiting for us. We are being born into this world. And so, and there is great excitement. There's a lot of love, and there's a lot of they are longing for us, and they are expecting us, and we are wanted, and we are needed, and we are invited. And so it is such a beautiful place. And a lot of the ascended masters are already there. So when I get there and I spend my short time there, it's like hugging tons of friends. I have so many friends there, and it's just like, it's one big party, and it's like, I'm soon coming. And that's where we're going. That's the ascension process. And so I know it's real because I've been there, but for most people, it's just a story. But I actually think if people had a glimpse of it and saw it, then they would take spirituality a little more serious. They would be a little more focused on what matters and what doesn't matter. It's a matter of priorities. Yeah. What's important in life. And so are we embracing consciousness, evolution of consciousness, or are we just running around chasing money and fame and whatever it is, desires and bodily sensations and stuff like that? And we can get distracted very easily on this planet. So is there anything you would say here at the end that for all these people who are listening now, who are confused, scared, a little lost, and don't trust their own inner voice, etc., is there anything you would tell them to give them some light and hope?
One of the things I've been known to say quite a few times, there's two things. First of all these new humans that are coming to the planet have come in with their awareness. They've come in because they know it's not going to be a waste of time. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother. So it's going to happen. And also know, and when people say to me, well, I want to know what my purpose is, what is my mission, you know, how do I know I'm on track? And I say this, your soul, you know, that, and it's, I'm just trying to find it in a way that most people will get. Your soul has come with a mission, with a purpose, and it's never going to. I'm still trying to think of the right way to say this, and whatever. Your soul will never let you miss the bus.
Yeah.
All right. Because it's worked too hard to get you here in the first place. So when you worry about whether or not you're going to get there, or whether you're doing the right thing or whatever, just know exactly that. Your soul knows exactly what to do, and it will make sure one way or another that you get in line, because it won't let you lose the, and you know, what you've come here to learn and grow with. And you know, so literally it won't let you miss the bus. The bus is waiting, you will get on it, and even if you have to be slapped around a few times before you get there, it's like, come on, wake up, go on.
Yeah.
And part of the challenge is the fear, is you know, the shamanic process, as you know very well with all of this, is transcending human fears so that you can operate in a multidimensional reality. And this is exactly the journey, is transcending human fears of all those things out there, transcending that so you can then operate as you are a cosmic being in the higher realms of reality. So you won't miss the bus, guys. You won't miss the bus.
No, it's not possible. You are the unborn, undying, eternal presence of being. You are a multidimensional being. It may look like you missed the bus. You didn't miss the bus. It's not possible. And so, and I can also just say words of encouragement. When I was on the other side, and like flatline, completely dropped the body, I connected with a lot of beings, and I got lots of downloads and all stuff. And immediately I saw how precious this life is on this planet, and how I felt like, literally, like I won the spiritual universal cosmic lottery. Like I was so excited about the fact that I was here to witness this process on this planet. It is amazing, and it's a rare occurrence that you are allowed as a soul. That's also why we have so many people on the planet, because they're really standing in line trying to come in here, because this is a big one. This is a big deal. And so I was so excited that I had a body, and then I was told, well, yeah, you're dead now, but you actually can come back in and continue living. And I was like, yeah, let me get in. Like, this is amazing. Come back in. So I went into the body, and of course it was extremely painful to breathe again and stuff like that. But but it was just like, I really wanted to be here, because this is a big deal. And so everybody out there who is afraid and who feels this is the worst planet ever, etc., just know that on your higher level of you has chosen to be here and is excited about being here. And if you can just connect with that, which is through your heart, you will also be excited about being here, regardless of what's going on, because you're here to play the game. You're here to play the game, and you are one of the biggest spiritual warriors in the universe. That's why you're here. Like God is sending his best right now. And you're it.
Absolutely wonderful.
So with that, I thank you so much for your time, and I love this, and I hope people also enjoyed it. So where can they find your website and your work?
Well, you can Google me, and my website will come up anyway, but it's ascern.com.au or maryrodwell.com.au. I'm on Facebook as well. So there's many ways people can contact me. Very easy.
Okay. Yeah. And you will help them. You will send links to anybody who emails you, so they can find the communities and and
Yeah.
like-minded people.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your work. I mean, you're just a beautiful voice on this planet, and I'm so grateful that you're here.
Thank you. And thank you, Josh, for inviting me, and also for all the wonderful work that you're doing as well as one of these star warriors. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.